Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sheri.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Welcome to show number 88. Sheri and I are going to be taking you on a tour of Capitoline Hill, and in particular the two museums associated with the area. Now, the Capitoline Hill, which is one of the most famous of the seven hills, even though it's the smallest, but it is the tallest. It was the home of the ancient temple of Jupiter, has been the center of the city government of Rome for 2,500 years, and still is. There's a lot of different ways to get up here. We actually came to the Capitoline Museum on a day when we saw the Pillar of Trajan and Trajan's Forum and the various forums of Augustus and other emperors, as well as doing some of the churches on that same day. So we just started with the Capitoline Hill. So we actually came up the main road to the Capitoline Hill. Surely by now you have this map memorized of Rome, but we're going to start where we have before at our apartment, and we're just going to go down this main street, and then we'll cut over and come in behind the Capitoline buildings and the palazzo here. As we're walking down the street, you can see our destination. That, of course, is not what we're headed to, but it's right next door to it, the tomb of Victor Emmanuel. But you can see all the preparation. They're getting ready for Independence Day, for the big parade that comes down through here. So we're walking on up. Here's a nice view of the tomb of Victor Emmanuel, and you can see the little tower here, which Sheri used to get up on the roof for some really good pictures. And we're going to come back through behind the church. So here we are. This is a statue of Julius Caesar, right where his forum was located. Then we got up a little closer, and this is the Mamertine Church. This is where the prison for St. Peter and Paul was located. It's a privately controlled site, so you have to pay to get in there. As we're coming up behind the Capitoline buildings, of course, there's the nice view of the Forum. And then we start sweeping around this street to come up and go right by the front of that white building. And that puts us out into what is now the Piazza del Campidoglio. Now, this is a square atop the hill that was once the religious and political center of ancient Rome, and it is still the home of the city government. In 1530, the Pope called on Michelangelo to reestablish a square as a grand center. So Michelangelo put this ancient equestrian statue of Marcus Aurelius as a focal point. The original is in the museum, and we'll see it a little bit later. And the twin buildings on either side of the square are the two Capitoline Museums. The two museums are housed in two palaces. One is the Palazzo dei Conservatori, and the other one is the Palazzo Nuovo. And then, of course, you go between them underneath the building that is the city government, and underneath that building is the foundation of the Temple of Jupiter. And then this is a view looking down the street. There's the Theater of Marcellus down here. I went down to the bottom to get pictures of it. This is one of the two statues on either side of the stairway, which of course was designed by Michelangelo. It's a relatively easy walk up. As you get closer to the top, you see the main building, which of course is where the city government is located. And then here's a nice shot of how the palazzo looks. Now, Michelangelo intended that people approach the square from this direction, from his grand stairway off the Piazza Venezia. From the top of the stairway, you can see the Renaissance face of Rome, and with its back to the Forum. Michelangelo gave the building what is known as the Giant Order. He has huge pilasters, making the existing two-story buildings feel like they're one story and more harmonious to the new square. And then once you get up there, there's the statue, the equestrian statue of Marcus Aurelius. This is a replica. And there's a belief that many of the early Christians thought that this was actually Constantine because of his hand gesture that he had. Otherwise, they might have knocked it down. Of course, there's a very nice little fountain directly in front of the main city office. And there was the statue on one side, and a nice statue in the middle, and there's another statue on the other edge. And then here's a view looking back out, if you were to walk out of the building onto the palazzo and see the Marcus Aurelius there. So here is one of the buildings. This is the one we're going to go into first. This is the museum that is going to house a lot of the ancient works, such as the bronze of the she-wolf and the Romulus and Remus, and of course the original statue of Marcus Aurelius. Then on the other side, you have the opposite museum building, and that one houses a lot of Roman busts, which when we get to that I want to tell you we had a little trouble here. You can take pictures. They have notices showing you that you can take pictures without flash. But there's a trick to it. And then we have these little side sections where they have just some random art. So you can see one of these giant feet that's supposed to be, I believe, of Constantine. And there's Constantine's giant hand from the statue. So we go into the first museum and up to the next floor. And then you see, look at the lintels to these rooms. And then we have this painting of the Annunciation. And then gigantic work of religious art. So we have all of these different paintings that are involved. This painting shows Romulus and Remus. So you see in this close-up, you see the wolf, the she-wolf, with the two children. And then, of course, if you wander around enough, you can get in the wrong spot. This is one of the buildings where they hold meetings. And we have actually walked in the meetings before and quickly ushered ourselves out. And then here's a couple of these beautiful Renaissance pieces of furniture with the inlay. Just exquisite. The different woods on this one. Then we come into the area where you have the tapestry. This is the tapestry hall. And then we go down a level and we end up finding several rooms of busts. So here we have various emperors. This one is made to look like he's Hercules. And then we have another one here and several of them. Now, this bust right here is where I got into trouble. The room clearly showed that you could take pictures. So I went in and I was taking pictures of all of the stuff and I got yelled at. And they said, you cannot take pictures of that. And I said, you have a sign on the wall. She said, no, you have to use individual ones. So you had to look at the little tiny plaque and it would have a no photograph picture because some of them had not been used in books or anything. They didn't tell you that up front. I guess they do that so they can yell at you. So I had to be really, really, really careful. It got really frustrating. And then I believe this is Faustina up here. And you can see here's a whole room of these. And if you wanted to take a picture of them, you had to make sure that you were taking one that you could indeed photograph. And then we went to the next room. And this next room is one of my favorites. You come in, see the flooring, and you look up. And in this room, which has all sorts of different things from ancient Rome on the walls, it has this bronze statue. And this is the bronze statue of the she-wolf suckling Romulus and Remus. This stood over the doorway to the Senate building. So this has been around for an extremely long time. And of course I photographed it from just about every angle. Here's a nice shot of it from the front. Now I'm going to have to disappoint you here in the fact that the original Romulus and Remus did not survive. They decided in the Renaissance to have little Romulus and Remus put back into the statue suckling. So here's a close-up of them suckling. So the wolf is original to ancient Rome, Republican Rome. The children are, of course, Renaissance. Then here we have a bronze horse. And then we get to this section where they have the original Marcus Aurelius equestrian statue. And you can see that it's been protected enough that it still has a lot of the gold gilding. The bronze has not all turned up that green patina. And that's a little closer view of it. And then we get off to one side and you can see that one side of the horse has a little more of the original bronze. And of course one of the things about this from a technical standpoint is here's its base. We have a cast bronze horse with a rider and it's being held up on 3 feet. Now after the fall of Rome, the ability to do this from an artistic standpoint does not exist again until Leonardo Da Vinci cast his huge bronze horse for Milan. So this technical process of doing it like this disappears. And here's a close-up of the saddle. You can just see the workmanship. And of course the original, you can see it would have all been gold like that, just stunning. And then here's the backside view. And then we come to a couple of bronze pieces of the Emperor Constantine the Great and his hand. A little nicer view of his face. And then to show you what the horse would have looked like, here is a bronze statue of Commodus, which is the son of Marcus Aurelius, as Hercules. And you can see the giant club and the incredible bronzing. And then we go downstairs and we start going through the hallways. And where we are is the foundation of the Temple of Jupiter. And then you come out and there's various statues and niches where you would have had worship. And then after you come out of the tabularum, then you go up a flight of stairs, which of course is where you're heading to 2 things. We're going to end up at the viewing level out of the temple onto the forum. And then if you continued up the stairs, you'd be going up into the next museum. So here's what it looks like today and what it looked like in ancient times. And then here is the exit. There's actually 3 of these ports that you can come out and take pictures. Here's one of them that you've probably seen this view before. We have Titus's Victory Arch and the Forum. And then here's Sheri looking out at the Forum, and you can kind of see up above where the trees are where the Veronese Garden is located. And then here's another picture of the Forum from one of the other openings. And then this is looking back from the picture we took of the Veronese Garden, looking back to those 3 openings underneath the City Hall and the museums on either side. But this is what it looks like if you're taking a picture down the whole line to see out into the Forum. So it really is worthwhile to come in and see this. And I mentioned this before, you need to get what is known as the Roma Pass, which is a pass that allows you X number of days to see various museums for free or to skip the lines. This museum, the Capitoline Museums, are part of that. So here we go, going up the steps to the next museum, which is going to house statues and all sorts of different art. And you can see just how crowded it is with all the different artworks. Here's one of the great works that's over here. This is the Wounded Gaul. And you can see the carving from all different angles, the backside. And then we have some of the other rooms. Remember, these were palaces, so you're going to find some different artwork on the ceiling. There's a little closer view of the ceiling in this particular part of the museum. And then you come into an area where you have a lot of the propylite marble. So here we have one of the statues. It's a closer view of it, 2 different sides. A little closer view of the ceiling in this particular room, the indentations. And then some of the other works. We've got the centaur here. And then we have this room. This is also where I got in trouble. We have this room of the busts. And we have all sorts of these people around there. And the sign you see right here says you can take photographs, but it's like in each individual. So you had to look and make sure very carefully that that was okay. I finally just stopped. The reason I was taking pictures is they had a bust of Pyrrhus. They had a bust of some people you don't normally see in history books. And here we have a statue of Pan, one of the Roman women, and of course the Aphrodite or Venus of the Capitoline Museum, one of the other great works. And then you have this child with the snake. It's a little different from the one that we usually see. But here's another one of the women matrons of Rome, the hairstyle. And then here's the Hellenistic, the most famous of the child with the snake. You see it down here at its feet, looking down at it. And then here we have a mosaic, a framed mosaic with the drama masks. And then there are just statues and artwork everywhere. Here we have a couple of female statues. And we come out into an Egyptian section, and then back out into the courtyard again, where we see some more monumental statues. A nice fountain, a close-up of the lion head. And then from the Egyptian section, Sheri really likes this particular, the falcon, Horus. It's magnificent bronze. So I had to take a picture of that with her. And then we were finished with the museum. This took us about 2.5 hours or something like that. We walked outside because now Sheri's going to go, we're going to go to the tomb of Victor Emmanuel, and she's going to go up the elevator to the roof. But when we came outside, you see there's the column with the she-wolf and Romulus and Remus. But that's a replica of the one that they have on the inside. So there's quite a lot to see in the Capitoline Museum. You know, I knew that several of these famous statues were there, and so that's what I was really interested in. But you can spend all day here pretty easily. Just be careful about what you're doing and taking photographs. Sheri and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.